Kia ora koutou, good evening everyone and welcome. My name is Zoe Avery. I'm Associate Director of Design and Urban Planning here at Te Pare, the School of Architecture and Planning, and it's my pleasure to be here with you tonight for what promises to be a truly insightful conclusion to our Fast Forward lecture series. This is our final lecture for semester 2, wrapping up what's been a compelling exploration of systems change, finance, planning and community in the climate era. Throughout this series, we've been examining how we can fundamentally transform the systems that shape our built environment, particularly as we grapple with New Zealand's most pressing challenges around housing affordability, climate change and sustainable urban growth. Before we begin, I'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to JIB for their generous sponsorship of the Fast Forward lecture series. Their ongoing support makes these important conversations possible, and we're delighted to have them on board as partners in fostering debate and development within architecture, urban design and urban planning. Just as a reminder, we do have 2 CPD forms down here available for tonight's lecture, so don't forget to sign them and fill them in and stay for some refreshments afterwards. Now, before I introduce our great speaker this evening, we'd like to share a brief video from JIB. So tonight I'm delighted to welcome Shane Brealey, Managing Director of Simply Living, whose journey perfectly embodies the systems change that we've been discussing throughout this series. Shane brings a unique perspective, having trained as a civil engineer before moving into project management, construction and development. His 15 years with major Australian corporates, including Lend-Lease, Mirvac and Multiplex, have given him deep insights in traditional development models. After founding and running New Zealand's strong construction for over a decade, Shane established New Zealand Living, which built 700 apartments that sold collectively for 30 million under valuation, primarily to first home buyers. In 2022, New Zealand Living was gifted to KiwiSaver and investor members of Simplicity, enabling a larger scale rollout of New Zealand homes. He now heads Simplicity Living. I would like you to please join me in giving a warm welcome to Shane.
Let me give you firstly a bit of context, a bit of background to what I'm about to dive into. At the tender age of, I think I was about 28, 29 at the time, I got exposed to something that really excited me, and to see that continuous improvement, waste elimination, and what Toyota was doing in the car making sector. And as an engineer and working for construction companies, it was always burning in my mind, how can we, as the dinosaur industry of most economies, being construction and property, do better, because it's such an important sector of any economy. And never really had the chance to do much about it for the next 20 or so years, because I was either just the builder, just the project manager, but never the client, never the decision maker, never the funder. And so it was very difficult to try to pull together all of the good theory that I knew was had the potential to be applied in a very powerful way. So left the corporate life, 15 years of that, started a construction company called NZ Strong and ran that for 10 years, and we were deadly efficient. If you came up against NZ Strong in a competition to win a project, you lost 2 times out of every 3. So we won 2/3 of all work that we went for, tender lists of 3 to 5. It was really hard to beat us because we were always thinking with from a point of empathy with the client and trying to make the project a success for everybody. So even though we were in a subordinate position just as the builder, and there was generally a project manager or a quantity surveyor or an architect or a client who was sort of trying to transfer risk to you. So it was hard being the good guys trying to help when there was so much burden that was also attracting. Okay, you want to change that to something better, you do it at your cost, but we're not going to. Oh, that's going to cost us a bit of design money, a bit of time. So if you pay us to do that, we'll allow you to improve the project. And so after 10 years, at the age of, 52, I spat the dummy and walked out of the industry. I retired at 52 in frustration. Built a house on Waiheke Island, where my wife and I live now. And then after about a year and a half, I had this burning question: what if we bought the land, acted as the client, was the main contractor, made all the decisions that we needed, that were needed to be made? What amount of waste could we take out of our property and construction sector? What is the level of waste? And so we did that. We bought a block of land in Otahuhu, and we developed 86 apartments, predominantly for first-time home buyers. In fact, that was before Kiwi Build. So we developed these 3-story walk-up products, and they sold well. I thought we would get about 7% waste out of our cost. I had a friendly QS who said, "Shane, you're a bit of an optimist. You're going to lose your shirt. Let me give you a free cost plan to help you not undo all of your life's hard work." And so we poured a lot of money into it. I think it was $8 million, borrowed 11, 19 mil, and we got underway with this project. We delivered that project for 35% less than his estimate. And he couldn't understand how or why, but what we were doing was making timely decisions, taking waste out, working with our negotiated subcontractors and suppliers, handpicked our consultant team, and we were all equals. We all had a voice in making decisions in the best interests of the project. So maybe that was just a fluke, maybe it was lucky, but we did it 11 more times in a row. 700 homes later, because we could build so efficiently, we were able to discount the sale price of our apartments by about $50,000 per apartment, and we were still making good money. So we did that for 6 or 7 years. Now I'm 58, 59 years old, and I thought, okay, I'm seeing a lot of Audis and BMWs and very expensive cars in the car parks of the developments that we are developing for first-time home buyers. Invariably, 2 to 3 years after we'd finished each project, the purchasers of our homes were going to sell those homes at market price. Why would they do anything different? So the legacy of our IP and our knowledge and the way we deliver things was going to be lost in no less in no more than 3 years' time. It was all gone. And so I sat back and thought, well, how do we make use of our solution in a more lasting way? Convinced my wife that we need to find a big pot of money, investment money, because if you're going to do this thing seriously, you've got to do it at scale. And this is one of your key messages for this lecture series is, making a difference, doing things in volume and scale. Otherwise, you're just another zealot, potentially, barking in a corner about something that's you're passionate about. But how do you shift the dial on the property sector? How do you change an industry? So went to NZ Super, went to Morrison & Co, didn't like the feel of that. Ended up meeting Sam Stubbs from Simplicity, the KiwiSaver crowd, and he was as crazy as I was. And we met on the scaffolding of our 13th project, and he could see what we were doing. And I said, if you back us with the money, my wife and I will work pro bono for the next 10 years, and all profits will go back to KiwiSaver members. So we're not going to sell anything. We're going to build these things to rent in big volumes, big projects, and we're going to try to shift the dial. So our 35% efficiency gains, we're going to give back to so now I'll tie the loop back to the Toyota way. Being an engineer by nature, that concept of perpetual motion, a machine that has very few frictional losses, and it just is compelling. It snowballs and gets bigger and better and bigger and better every day. So we had our IP as constructor and developer. We got rid of the bank because our members were providing the finance. We weren't selling any properties anymore. We got rid of the real estate agents. We had no external project managers or quantity surveyors. And so we were now getting close to that perfect machine. Money in directly from members, builds these homes at 35% less cost than anybody else can do them for. That generates outsized returns, which attracts more investors to feed more cash in. We have more money, more homes, more money, more homes, and there's no stopping it. So that's the theory behind what we came up with. The first thing we did before we got rolling was had a meeting with the then government Minister Megan Woods. Her and a couple of her advisors came into our office. We explained what we were doing, and she, on behalf of the government, said, this is just white on white, fantastic, KiwiSaver money, building homes for Kiwis. You're going to charge less rent. You're going to provide outsized returns to improve retirement savings. There's nothing not to like about this. What can I do to help? And I thought about it for about half a second. I said, stay out of the way. And you could have heard a pin drop. She was, stunned. And for about 20 seconds, there was silence. And I said, no, look, honestly, I don't mean to cause offence, but I mean it. Please just stay out of the way. We've got this. We need nothing from you. Just to one side, please. Happy to let you cut ribbons, but this, and then there were people that coined the phrase, effectively what we're doing is privatising the government's work of providing housing. And it works because of our efficiencies. So let me, for those who aren't familiar with what it is that we do, this is an image of a project we're starting in November over on the North Shore. But to date, and we've been going 3 years, we've completed 210 homes in a 3-storey walk-up format. We've got 1,045 in construction at the moment in Auckland. We've got another 1,425, Queenstown, 623 coming up down there, more over at Unitech campus. And before I go into more photos of projects, I'll just outline the 3 criteria. So when Sam and I had this discussion, what are our 3 key objectives? One is deliver high quality homes. And so the brick and concrete and we think they're designed for 150-year design life or more. We don't cut corners. It's a very durable product that we build. We generate outsized returns, so the machine gets fed with more and more money. In fact, when Sam and I met on the scaffolding over in Northcote on one of our projects under construction, we had 1.86 billion of funds under management. Today, they're 9.4 billion. Back then, they had 46,500 members. They've now got 175,000 members. And I remember thinking at the time that we were having a conversation, are you big enough? Have you got enough money? Have you got enough members? Because this is going to be hungry. This is going to take a lot of money to build 10,000 homes, $400,000 a piece, $4 billion. The maths is quite easy. So over 15 odd years, we need 4 billion. It's not going to come from a 1.86 billion fund, but currently our fund is growing by around about $1 billion every 4 months. So it's that snowball, that wheel, and we're on a move. And the third one there, which was a condition of us doing this, was to openly share our IP, to act as the industry crash test dummy, to pioneer new ways of developing property, and then to share that with anybody and everybody in an open source fashion. Hence things like this. And if anybody sends us an email asking for our IP, you'll get all of our financial feasibility models, you'll get all of our designs, all disciplines, and a big Dropbox link. You'll get our construction methodology, our programming, you'll get everything. We've had 3,000 people through a productivity hub that we set up on our project at Rayputa. So we opened that in July last year, and people can book to come through in groups, and we give them a 1-hour tour, all, obviously free, to try to encourage people to think outside the square and improve. Here's a quick snapshot of what it looks like. There's a lot of low carbon concrete in there. There's a lot of bricks. The cladding is predominantly brick. If you look around Europe, you can see that it's pretty durable, it's low maintenance, it works. We're Homestar 7 rated. One of the key things, when you look at that drawing, it looks highly complex. You look at that photo, it looks highly complex. But for those of you here in the design part of our industry, we have 5 drawings per new home. So a 100 home development has 500 drawings. When I get asked to review a project that's not working, I ask them to send a Dropbox link to their design so I can start commenting on it. Invariably, there are somewhere between 60 and 80 drawings per home. And so that's architecture, structure, hydraulic, mechanical, landscaping, civil, drainage, shop drawings, 60 to 80 drawings per home. You cannot build efficiently, you cannot build in a cost-effective way. Someone's got to draw those, price those, consent those, understand those, and then build those. So one of our keys is starting with that, keeping things uniform, and we standardise a lot of our details. And we build in situ. So what I see when I look at those photos is a factory. A lot of talk about OSM, absolute big fan of OSM, but it's not off as much as it is on. So it's an on-site manufacturing approach. OSM is a mindset. It doesn't need to come with a very expensive off-site factory that needs continuous throughput and double handling and all those big trucks and cranes and things. Our factory is on-site. These projects of ours have another funny quirk. In the UK, a $200 million project like our Ascot, our Ellerslie Racecourse project, or Rayputa, or Morningside Drive, would have somewhere between 35 and 40 FTEs on the client side and main contractor side running a $200 million build project. In Australia, 15 to 20 FTEs, project managers, site managers, quantity surveyors, design managers, and so on. We have 5 to 6. We build, another interesting stat, the next leanest developer builder in New Zealand is probably Ockham, and they build somewhere between 3 to 5 homes per year per FTE. Fletcher Living, another household name, 2. 300 staff delivering about 600 homes. Ockham 4 to 5, we deliver 30. So we've got 27 FTEs now delivering 1,045 homes. There's a bit of the stack cell. So our wall system is an in situ concrete wall system. It's a Tradex slab. There are no shop drawings. It's got tolerance built into it. You can see our little factory there with the prefabricated componentry for our walls. Toyota Way comes to construction in little old New Zealand. So here are some completed projects. That's over in Point England. You can see the 3-story walk-up module. The reason that was deadly efficient is you've got no lifts, no tower cranes, no alleymax, no sprinklers, no charge risers, no facade engineering. You go above 3 stories and you're into a whole world of pain with all those other things. So we fiercely resisted going away from the 3-story walk-up for a long time. I think we did 14 projects on the 3-story walk-up models. That's over in Rangeview Road, Richardson Road, over in Owaraka. And then over at Mount Wellington Highway, we cracked into the big time, and we got reference costings from Ockham, who do a lot of the high-rise stuff. We spoke to a number of QSs, and the high-rise construction was around $5,000 to $7,000 a square metre. So that's why we were fearful of going high. We're about 5 months from completing this 297 apartments, and we're going to build it for $3,800 a square metre. The 2 most expensive floors are the roof and the ground level, and everything else is like a sandwich in between, and so we found that efficiency really powerful. There are some images. So part of the ability to create a development solution that is financially compelling is having standardization of your componentry. So it's almost like a Lego kind of mindset. We design a kitchen that we know works. We design a window detail that works. We design a lift core that works. And then we design using those components, a bit like Lego. You know, you can make a USS Arizona warship, or you can make the USS Enterprise starship from Lego components. You can make all sorts of things. So these projects, you can see the sort of variety. You can play with your facades and your windows and your balconies and configuration of buildings. That's by the racecourse at Ellerslie, 330 homes rocketing along there. Those are views of the common facilities, rooftop terraces, great views, pavilions, work from home space, residence lounges. And then this page to me is the sexiest of them all, because it shows sort of a summary of what is being delivered and why it's going to be unstoppable. The bottom line is the delta that goes back to our members. So all the great ideas in the world you could have that don't attract money might become something that is a very small scale that never really gets off the ground. Whereas with these numbers, money is easy. You know, getting somebody to fund a project like this is really easy. And that's over in Morningside, so 170 metres from the train station. Minister Bishop has asked us has told us we can go to 15 stories. We've decided to go to 10. We think that's a more livable height in a neighbourhood like that. And then we're off to Northcote over on the North Shore. So we're doing it. You know, it's real and it's happening. And the only limitation we've got is no, there isn't one. It's not money, because the money will always find us. It's not good people, because I think there's good people there that can be found and trained up and to get our system. It's not sites. It's not even consents. You know, Auckland Council have been fantastic. QLDC down in Queenstown, they're all over us because it's good for the communities that we go into, particularly if you're, you know, in a unaffordable or a really expensive place to live. Because our efficiencies, those deltas, that money that goes back to our members, is after we've discounted the rent. So our 35% cost benefit, we've got these two levers. We can decide to pull back on our rents and discount them from market and still deliver an outsized return to our investors. The only thing stopping us discounting our rents further isn't the financial result, it's upsetting our investors. So when our argument runs out with our investors, hey, look, we think a 5% or a 7% discount is warranted because it ensures 100% occupancy, low churn, because people are grateful to have the home and the location at the quality and for the rent that we've got. When our arguments about having the best kind of tenants for the longest time and the lowest operating cost runs out, then we've got to increase our rents to keep our investors happy, because we want them to be happy to attract more investors. A quick little point of reference, Resido, you may know, down at Sylvia Park, built by Kiwi Developments or Kiwi Projects. We're 1.4 kilometres away with that project in Mount Wellington. There are 295 apartments, we're 297. They are $880 a week rent for a two-beddie. We're about $680 for the same home. They cost, their development is valued up at 225 million, about 220 mil. Ours is about 214 mil, so about the same. It costs them 225 to build. It's costing us 153. So it works. That's Morningside and Northcote by the numbers. Again, some good-looking deltas there that go back into our fund to attract more money. Quite happy for this whole PowerPoint to be copied out to anybody who wants it. Just attach it to the notes, so you can see all those. The speed of construction's pretty neat too. So we've got a low number of people driving these projects, but we're also completing them extremely quickly. Time is money. So we want to get these things into a habitable state as soon as we can, again, to drive money for our investors. And then we're off to Queenstown because we are a national fund, so we've got to share the love between the islands. So Queenstown is going to be a cracker, 623 homes down there, and QLDC is all over us like a rash because they've got such a shortage of homes there. There's our pipeline, very real. From a standing start 3 years ago, that's what we've got on. These projects of ours are providing about 500 to 600 jobs per project. So we're employing quite a lot of people. That's both on-site and in the various subcontractor manufacturing facilities around the country. And we've got a few that we're hunting at the moment, Middlemore Hospital and Mangawhal Station. We've got a train station sitting in the middle of a desert. Who knows how long that's going to be there for, but we're in discussions with the government and the mayor about making a move on that. We think 400 or so BTRs at the Mangawhal Station site would be a great use of that land. We set out with purpose. These plans are over 3 years old. So we set up our business plans, set up our business objectives, and we located where we thought would be best for a portfolio of 10,000 homes. And the way it's shaping up is looking like 7,000 odd in Auckland, probably 1,500 in Queenstown, and then a few others spread up and down the country. But right now it's Auckland and Queenstown. So, we had a very clear mission, we set our goals, and now we're going about it. Ringing in our ears is Minister Twyford's Kiwi Build 100,000 home promise that turned into 3,200, of which my wife Anna and I did 600 of. Husband and wife team from Waiheke. So that's, I'm trying to anticipate some of the questions, but I'll probably be able to answer more as part of the Q&A side. But just to preempt an obvious one, I think, is So how do you deliver your trades and your construction cost 30 to 35% less than the bulk of the market? Because it sounds wishful. It's made up of 6% construction margin straight off the bat. So it's a zero because we don't have a construction margin because we're working not for profit. We're like the Southern Cross healthcare of property development. So there's 6. There's about another 4 or 5 that comes out of our prelims and general. So running a project has a big layer of management to make it happen. The normal P&G, if you're familiar with that term, on a commercial construction project is about 15 to 18%. Cranes, temporary works, scaffolding, supervision, your site team. For us, we're about 4 or 5% below that. So we're now at about 10%, so there's another big missing 25. How do we explain the 25? And the easiest way I can describe it is this. Of all the 32 trades on a complex construction project, and there are around 30 odd trades, each trade is broadly made up of 4 roughly equal components. Labour, materials, off-site overheads and profit, and an allowance for risk or inefficiency. And in most jobs, you always have to allow for that, but it's hidden and it's spread amongst these other 3 things. And it's assuming the job is going to be less than ideally efficient. So you have to allow a certain buffer on your labour, your materials, your off-site overheads and margin. Otherwise, you'll make no margin. So what we've managed to do, we don't tender anything. We work with the same subcontractors each time. We've convinced them by being their humble servant, laying the materials at their feet, giving them complete documents and helping them work as efficiently as they can, being very reliable on our decision making and our programming and our decision. They don't need that guy. So we've got rid of that 25%. When we go out to the market, and we had to do it a couple of times because of subbies going out of business, and we've gone to the open market, this guy comes back in because they don't know how it's going to go, and they assume it's going to be another stuff up. Every project has its issues, right? Look, we said come back next Wednesday and we'll have level 4 ready for you to fit out the kitchens. We're going to have to push that out a month because blah, blah. We don't ever do that. From the day we pour our ground floor slab, every trade, every apartment, every activity until that project is finished is locked in. So as a supplier to us, you know on October the 17th, you will be installing in apartment 504, 505 and 506 the kitchens, and it never changes. I think we've had 72 concrete pours in a row without change. I was standing in a site shed about 6 months ago with our project managers, and a 100-ton mobile crane rolls in the gate at 7:15 in the morning, and they both look at each other and say, "What's that? What's that for?" They go to our programming tool on the wall. Neither of them knew. "Oh, what's he here? Why is he here?" That crane was booked 8 months ago with our programming system called Kirsten. She's the boss. Kirsten is the boss. Keep it real simple team efficiency node, just to add a bit of cheese. And Kirsten worked out that 8 months ago, that 100-ton crane from NZ Cranes was going to be needed on that Thursday morning at 7:15. They went to their planning sheet. Oh, he's putting roof trusses up on building E. He's loading up the tray deck on building B, level 2, and they are loading bricks somewhere. So power of a Toyota type thinking and productivity.